The Mercury Mouth is back, and this time, he's not coming alone.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So, it's time for another movie review in my review series, which is for a film series being the X-Men movies. And this is for the second installment to feature, of course, the franchise's anti-hero, and, of course, the Mercury Mouth, as I just said in the intro. This is his second film released in 2018, directed by David Leitch, and this movie, of course, which is the sequel, is none other than 2018's Deadpool 2. So, now, how was this film made then? So, plans for a sequel to the first film released in 2016 began before that film was released, and was confirmed in February 2016, and through the original creative team of Ryan Reynolds, and also Rhett Reese, and also Paul Wernick, and also, Tim Miller was also set to direct the sequel as well, but he left the project in October 2016 due to creative differences with Ryan Reynolds, and was then replaced by David Leitch. An extensive casting search also took place to fill in the role of Cable, with Josh Brolin ultimately cast in the role. Filming took place in British Columbia from June to October 2017. The film then premiered at the Leicester Square in London on May 10, 2018, and was released in the United States on May 18th. And the film outgrossed its predecessor, earning $785.8 million worldwide, and it became the 9th highest grossing film of 2018, and the highest grossing film in the X-Men series, and also the highest grossing R-rated film at the time. And when it comes to critic reviews, it received positive reviews from them, with some saying it was better than the first movie, and praising the humour, cast performances, story and action sequences, while others criticised its torn script and recycled jokes. And we as well got a PG-13 version of the film released around Christmas time called Once Upon a Deadpool as well, to mixed reviews. When it comes to my reaction to this film, so I saw this film at the cinema in 2018, and as somebody who absolutely loves the first movie, I once again definitely really loved this sequel. Now, do I think it's better than the first movie? Well, there's some bad qualities I have with this film, which is why I personally would prefer the first movie. That's what I'll say, but it's still, in my opinion, a great sequel nonetheless. So, now what is this movie about then? So, in this film, Deadpool, who is played once again by Ryan Reynolds, forms a team called the X-Force to protect a young mutant who, of course, is the character Russell, also known as Fire Fist, from a time-travelling soldier called Cable, who is wanting to hunt him down to prevent him from killing his family. So, now when it comes, of course, to what I think is great about this film then, so I think that once again, just like the first movie, this sequel has a really great cast of actors. So, on to, of course, the number one highlight of this film, it's most definitely for me, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. His performance returning as Deadpool is once again fantastic, and he's still, in my opinion, an absolutely hilarious character. This sequel does something new with him, where it gives him more character and conflict, but it still keeps, of course, his traits being, of course, his humour, his irresponsibility, and of course, his usual fourth wall breaking. But I love how this film gave him a lot more character, and we got to see, a new side to him, really. So I definitely really like that about Ryan Reynolds in this film. And he made Deadpool a really hilarious character with lots of hilarious lines that made me die of laughter when I saw the movie. Yeah, this film's humour was done so well, and we got to thank Ryan Reynolds for that. Definitely perfect casting as Deadpool. When it comes as well to others who return as well, I loved as well the return of Marina Baccarin as Vanessa, and she was great as always is in the role. My favourite role of hers, but there is a bad quality you have with her, which I'll get to, which is why I prefer the first movie. And I also did like the return as well of Stefan Kapasik as the voice of Colossus in this film. I thought he was once again really good in the role. Definitely, in my opinion, a better Colossus than the X-Men trilogy's Colossus, in my opinion. Because, in my opinion, it was a lot more favourable to the comics. And, of course, he talks more. And I did also like the return of Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She was good in the film, in my opinion. But there's also bad qualities to her, which I'll get to, which I didn't really like when it comes to bad qualities. But Brianna Hildebrand was still good in the role, though, nonetheless. I just love the return as well of Leslie Uggams as Blind Al. She was definitely really funny once again, and definitely a very likeable character who, of course, looks after Deadpool as, of course, his roommate. And also Karen Sony as Dopinder. Dopinder in this film was just so funny once again, and Karen Sony is just so hilarious as him. And when it comes to this film's new cast vote, so I've already mentioned, of course, Josh Brolin being cast in this film, and in this film, he, of course, plays the character of Cable. And I personally think that out of the new cast, Josh Brolin was easily, for me, this film's show stealer. And he was already making a name for himself in 2018 because in the same year, he, of course, also was playing Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. And in this film, wow, he absolutely rocked as Cable. And I definitely regard Cable as probably one of my all-time favourite roles from Josh Brolin because he's one of my favourite actors of all time. And I think he absolutely nailed it as Cable. Definitely perfect casting in my opinion. He made an absolute badass. And I love how in this film, it looks like we took inspiration from Terminator a little bit when it comes to how he's portrayed. And that, of course, was joked about in the film, which is definitely really funny. And I've also got to give tons of praise to Josh Brolin as well for getting into a great physique for a role. Considering that he was 50 this year, the film came out, he definitely did a brilliant job, you know, getting into a great shape for a character. And the visual effects as well for Cable were brilliant too, in my opinion. Like, for example, for his metal limbs, and also his cybernetic eye as well. And also, as well, his really cool gun, which actually is a magnet that attaches to Cable's back. That was definitely really cool, in my opinion. And Josh Brolin was brilliant as Cable. I also, as well, definitely like the addition of Zazie Beetz as Domino in this film, who, of course, is a mercenary with a mutant ability to manipulate luck. And I think that Zazie Beetz was good as her, in my opinion. Although I would have loved it if she was a lot more faithful to her comics, but I still think that Zazie Beetz was good as her, in my opinion, pretty entertaining, in my opinion. I'll say that. But I would have loved it if they portrayed Domino more accurately to her comics, but when it comes to her appearance. But I still think Zazie Beetz did a very good job playing Domino in this. But personally, I prefer her more in Invincible, always, to be completely honest. And I also, as well, did like Julian Dennison as, of course, Firefist in this film. He was somewhat of a likeable character, in my opinion, the character being hunted by Cable. And I think Julian did a very good job playing Firefist, in my opinion. And when it comes as well to another one of the film's villains, aside from, of course, Cable, if we count him, of course, hunting, of course, Russell, I did like Eddie Marsan appearing as the headmaster of the Essex Home for Mutant Rehabilitation, which, of course, is the orphanage that Russell is at. He was a pretty brutal character, in my opinion, but there's bad quality about character that I'll get to, though. But I still think Eddie Marsan did a good job what he was given. And also, as well, this film also has some pretty funny cameos by several actors playing, of course, for X-Force. And I say cameos, sadly, in a sad way, which I'll get to when it comes to another bad quality when it comes to the X-Force. And we, of course, for example, have Terry Crews appearing as Bedlam, and also Louis Tan as Shatterstar, and also Bill Skarsgård as Zeitgeist, and also Rob Delaney as a normal human called Peter. He was pretty funny. And also Brad Pitt also appears in a cameo as the Vanisher. And he was actually considered to play Cable, but he couldn't play him due to scheduling conflicts. But he was able to film this cameo, though, literally for only about half an hour into production. He was on the set for like 2 hours, and he filmed his cameo in half an hour. And because his face is only visible for like 1.5 seconds, it could probably be the shortest cameo in cinematic history, which is just shocking, really. And another villain this film also introduces as well is also as well the Juggernaut. And I definitely really like Juggernaut in this film. Definitely, in my opinion, a lot more comic accurate than he was portrayed in the X-Men trilogy, in my opinion. I mean, no offense to Vinnie Jones' portrayal, but I personally think this version was a lot more comic accurate, in my opinion. And what's also really awesome is Ryan Reynolds actually did a voice for Juggernaut in this film. You might not probably notice him if you see the film because in the credits it says he created it as himself in the film, not as Ryan Reynolds. And also because they made his voice a bit deeper as well in post-production. But it's definitely just really awesome how we got Ryan Reynolds to voice for Juggernaut. And I think he did a great job playing with Juggernaut, in my opinion, with some pretty funny lines, I must say, as well. And I think Ryan Reynolds was actually pretty funny as Juggernaut. Although, of course, Deadpool for me is his best comic book role of all time. And when it comes to other cameos, aside from the cameos of the X-Force as well, I love how we also got a cameo appearance from the X-Men members in the X-Mansion where they're hiding behind a closed door, which is actually pretty funny. They apparently filmed that scene on the set of their next film they were making, which was unfortunately Dark Phoenix. And they sent it also to Deadpool 2 crew. And it was definitely really funny seeing them as a joke, of course, if they're hiding from Deadpool. And we also got a cameo appearance as well of two truck drivers who were nearby when Cable lands on Earth, and he asked them what year it is, and they're played by Alan Tudyk and also Matt Damon. And I had no idea it was Matt Damon when I saw the film. You can hardly tell it's Matt Damon because he's in disguise, and it's credited as called Dickie Greenleaf. And And that was definitely just really cool how he did that as reference to Matt Damon's film The Talented Mr. Ripley, in which Damon, of course, appeared in. That was definitely really cool. And we did also get somewhat of a cameo appearance when it comes as well to graffiti on a wall of the absolute legend Stan Lee. May he rest in peace. He appears as a Boston ex-mansion and then as graffiti on a wall in the movie. And rest in peace to Stan Lee. Thank you for absolutely everything you've done for Marvel Comics, Stan. Thank you so much. And yeah, Stan's an absolute legend. And I love how Once Upon Deadpool as well actually added RIP to the graffiti, because that was sadly released a month after Stan passed away. So I love how they paid tribute to him on that graffiti cameo. And aside from as well this great cast of actors I've talked about, I also definitely really like the story of this film. Once again, it was absolutely hilarious in my opinion from start to finish. And it definitely portrayed Deadpool so well, in my opinion, once again. I love how he got a new side to Deadpool in the story. Aside from, of course, great humour, it showed more depth to his character, so I definitely really love that. And the action scenes are, once again, lots of fun, in my opinion, to watch. It's really great how his film is supposed to be like a comedy film, but it has lots of really cool action scenes, like the first movie certainly had. And I also like the musical score composed by Tyler Bates. It was really good, in my opinion. And also the addition of lots of really cool songs introduced in this, which was definitely great to listen to. And I also thought the visual effects and CGI were also great too, as well, in my opinion. Definitely way better than today's Marvel CGI, that's for damn sure. And another thing as well that I love about this film when it comes to fan service is most definitely, for me, the really hilarious and satisfying credit scenes of this film. Because at the end of the film, of course, when, of course, Russell prevents him from being killed by Cable, of course, and we get a somewhat emotional scene where Deadpool actually does die from taking a bullet for Russell when Cable shoots at him. And then, of course, after Cable uses his time-traveling device to turn back time and save Deadpool, rather than, of course, use it to return to the future, he's able to, of course, stay behind to help improve the world. And the Headmaster is then run over by Dopinder, which is definitely a very satisfying defeat, because Headmaster, of course, as I said, was very brutal. And in the credit sequence, Negasonic and also as well her girlfriend Yukio, the same character from the Wolverine, but recast for this film, which I don't understand because they could have brought the same actor from the Wolverine battle, which was a big shame. They repair Cable's time-traveling device, and Wade uses it, and he's able to save the lives of several people. And one of them who died, I'll get to in bad qualities, which is why I'm so glad this credit scene saved this character. And he also saves Peter as well, or the X-Force member. And what's so satisfying is we see him killing the Baraka Pool abomination from X-Men Origins Wolverine. And they actually use archive footage from that film of course, Baraka Pool, as I nickname it, and also Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And Hugh Jackman, of course, gave permission to use that scene. And then after, of course, he shoots, of course, Baraka Pool, as I nickname it, we then see another scene of Ryan Reynolds himself after he's read the screenplay for a Green Lantern movie, where Deadpool, of course, shoots him in the head and says, "You're welcome, Canada." Which is definitely very satisfying, and because, obviously, of course, it's not all secret that Ryan Reynolds hates the Green Lantern movie, and I personally don't blame him, and he would agree with haters, as of course, that the film is bad, and I definitely am not a fan of the movie myself. So that seems definitely very satisfying, but it does create a time paradox, because if, of course, Deadpool kills Ryan Reynolds, that means Ryan Reynolds wouldn't be able to play Deadpool, of course, 5 years later in the movie. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue, really, unfortunately, but it's still a very satisfying scene nonetheless. And so yeah, despite, of course, me thinking it's weaker than the first movie, I still think Deadpool 2 is a great film, and I would also regard it as the end of the Fox X-Men franchise to me. Logan, to me, is a perfect ending, of course, to the main X-Men characters, especially, of course, towards Logan and Xavier. But Deadpool 2, in my opinion, is a very fun epilogue, in my opinion, to close it out. Definitely something to cheer fans up, of course, after Logan's tragic ending, in my opinion. Deadpool 2, to me, is the true end of the X-Men, and I'm happily gonna keep it that way. And you'll see why, of course, in the next couple of reviews I'll be doing. The last two I'll be doing, of course, which will unfortunately be negative ones for Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants, which I'm not looking forward to doing. But when it comes to this one's bad qualities, so I've mentioned that a character does unfortunately get killed off, and that's unfortunately Vanessa. I personally didn't like how she was killed off at the start of this film, which was very disappointing. Although I did like, of course, the song Ashes by Celine Dion that plays afterwards in the opening sequence, but I personally did not like how Vanessa got killed off. That really upset me because I loved her as a character in the first movie. But thank goodness Deadpool saved her at the end of the movie using, of course, a time-traveling device. And when it comes to the X-Force members, I also did not like how the trailers made it look as though they were going to be a main part of the film, but they all got wasted, like, and were just mere cameos. And what's strange is they actually filmed more scenes of them just for the trailers, not for the film. And I get what we're trying to do, but personally, I didn't like how we got wasted, especially because we were played by lots of talented actors. I personally think they deserve more screen time than just those cameos, really. Like, we got hyped up thinking that X-Force was going to be a big thing in this film, but sadly not. And also as well, I personally did not like the recasting of Yuki or Ira in this film. I personally prefer the casting in Wolverine far more, in my opinion. I mean, Yuko didn't even do much in this film because it couldn't contribute to a story anyway, so that was a bit of a shame, really. So I personally didn't like that, what they did. And the Headmaster, in my opinion, when you compare him to Ajax from the first movie, he's definitely, in my opinion, a very weak villain. And just a generic evil orphanage owner type of character, really. And just not really fan of the character, in my opinion. And also, as well, I did not like how Negasonic Teenage Warhead also had less screen time than the first film. I personally wasn't a fan of that, which was just annoying for me, in my opinion. And also, as well, another character in this film, who unfortunately has more screen time than the first film, who is pulling my only back quarter of the first film, is Weasel. He, for me, is a very annoying character, played by an actor I absolutely despise, being the disgrace being TJ Miller. Sadly, in this film, he has way more screen time because he helped Deadpool form the X-Force. Compared to the first one, where he's just a brief supporting role. In this film, he had more to do, and I did not like it because I found that character really annoying. And I personally prefer the first film, mainly because of that reason, because he frankly had less screen time in that film than in this film. Yeah, Weasel ruined parts of the film for me because he's just an annoying character played by an absolute disgrace who I can't stand looking at. So, yeah, to me, this film is still good. It's definitely, in my opinion, a really fun film. To me, the trend of the X-Men films, but for me, it's weaker than the first Deadpool movie. But nonetheless, I think it's a great film, which is always a joy to watch, and it's definitely lots of fun. If you ask me which version of the film I prefer, I personally prefer the theatrical version over the Super Duper cut. Because I personally think the jokes, in my opinion, are more funnier in the theatrical version than the Super Duper cut. That's my opinion. Either way, though, it's still a great film. So, this is, of course, me doing my review for Deadpool 2. So, if I was to give this film a score out of 10, I would personally give this film a very solid score of 8.5 out of 10. That's what I'd give it. It's a solid, good sequel, but in my opinion, does not come close to the first movie, in my opinion. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let in the comments what you guys think of Deadpool 2. Let me know think of it in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Primer Pressing, subscribe for videos to come in the future, and I'll see you all later.